All right, I'm ready to talk Europe. I'm going to bring in Fabien. How you doing, my friend?
Good. Good to see you, Todd.
Good to see you. Where are you, in Hamburg?
I am in Hamburg, and it
Awesome.
is 5 p.m. in the afternoon. We had a
All
sunny
right.
day today.
Yeah, cool. A lot going on in Europe, my friend.
A lot. We just got done with the Munich Security Conference, and to put it in mild terms, I think that we are witnessing history in the making.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about that. What do you see from a European perspective? Rubio came, and I think that was the big speech, but there was a lot of there was pushback from Kaja Kallas and all of that, and in Europe, a lot of the European globalist leaders didn't like it at all. Let's put it that way. What's the European view?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that let's start out with the fact that Rubio got standing ovations, and that the first headlines that got right off the press were a big sigh of relief after Rubio's speech was in the room in Munich. Of course, the analysis, and I watched British analysis. I watched analysis from a lot of the more elitist intellectuals. They would label it as a very racist and 19th century type speech. But what really happened was that, first of all, Rubio, in my opinion, and including those that were in that room and in Munich, understood that American foreign policy is shifting. And I would make the argument, this is my personal view, that American foreign policy, for the first time since World War I, so actually pre-Woodrow Wilson, we are now headed back into the logic of America in the 19th century, meaning the Monroe Doctrine, meaning the Western Hemisphere, meaning we are a civilizational state and we have to protect it. The United States, for the past 120 years, or around 100 years, let's be fair, has basically been governed by a very liberal ideology. That states America has, this is a quote from back then, has to make the world safe for democracy. And America has to spread liberal values all around the globe if that entails bringing those liberal values through war. And we've seen that on and on again, all the way leading up to George W. Bush and the whole Iraq disaster. And now I personally have not been a fan of this foreign policy because, number one, from an American point of view, it doesn't benefit the American people at all.
Yeah.
But also from a Western perspective, it doesn't benefit the West as a whole. So if you take Iraq, for example, the war in Iraq was such a blunder, the war in Afghanistan was a blunder, that this whole refugee crisis, this whole migration crisis that we're witnessing is a result of those wars. So in other words, spreading liberalism and democracy to countries that do not care about liberalism or democracy are only going to give you bad seeds and bad effects. So what Rubio did in Munich was...
Pardon? Let me ask you, do you think that was a result of the wars or an intentional consequence manufactured after the wars? To say, okay, we've got all these refugees, we have to bring them in and destroy Western civilization?
It's a good question. I would say it's a mixture of both, because the wars led to the fact that now you had these refugees, and now you could have NGOs that started leading, boats, the boats across the Mediterranean. And because here's the thing, if you look at what's happening on the Rio Grande and in the Western Hemisphere, it's the same strategy. You bring in people by masses, you have these people that bring them by boats, etc., and try to bring these people into all the loopholes that are in the migration system. So it's basically the same playbook. But in Eurasia, it's a little bit easier to play because you have all the migration routes. You don't have big oceans between them.
That's true.
But to come back to the point about Marco Rubio, his whole language, his whole speech, you did not hear anything about the rules-based order. You did not hear anything about liberal values. You did not hear anything about spreading democracy. What you heard was a call for Western civilization to unite, to rediscover itself, and to also reinvent itself. I mean, he used interesting terms like our noble civilization. And I think that's so refreshing to hear from an American politician, because I'm so used to hearing, you know, the Bidens, the Obamas, the Clintons, and going back even to George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush, and on and on and on. We always heard the same jargon. It's always about the rules-based order. And it just seems like that is over. And we are now moving into a civilizational world. And Trump's foreign policy seems to be headed in that direction. The big critique was, well, this was Trump's handwriting all over the speech. I would not be so sure. I personally think that was very much Rubio's handwriting on the speech. It was in part with the MAGA view of foreign policy, but I don't think this was Trump's handwriting personally. Rubio, many people said, here are the adults in the room. Rubio was the adult in the room. And the way he delivered that speech, he looked very presidential. So this was a big, in my opinion, a big leap forward in either a Vance or a Rubio ticket. But we'll see. There's a long time down the road, but he certainly looked like a very mature statesman. Otherwise, you obviously had people from the Democrat Party in Munich. Did you see those blunders?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. AOC talking about we have to seize people's wealth like in the Netherlands, you know?
That's right. Well, and AOC also not knowing what she's talking about when it comes to Taiwan. You also had Gretchen Whitmer in Munich. Whitmer was asked about Ukraine. She couldn't answer a word. She tried to pass the question. You had Hillary Clinton in Munich, but you also had Gavin Newsom, who already was in Davos. And Newsom, his whole act has been like, he's been trying to suck up to European elites by kind of trying to be somewhat of a bully, in the sense of like, hey, you guys are wimps by what did he say? Something like to the notion of you need to grow a spine and a backbone and not listen to Trump. And hey, I'm the new guy. I'm from California. I'm going to do it much better. Well, the question I always ask myself is, how's California doing, by the way?
Yeah. Not good.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. We're going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
So the big question, the elephant in the room, does Europe have the will to save itself? I mean, you're at the tipping point. You've got a lot of migrants. I read an article from a former British general who said Britain is going to have a civil war no matter what, because even if you try to deport these people, they're going to fight back now. There's too many of them. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. At the moment, things look very bleak. Things look very dark because we here still have a political establishment that is trying to hang on to power as long as possible. You're going to see, I think Britain will probably be the first country that is going to go into some form of a, well, there's going to be civil war type scenarios that are going to be played out in Great Britain. I just don't see a way around it. You look at what's happening last year when you had that massive Tommy Robinson rally, you see that the British are rising up. You also see that politically, Nigel Farage is getting big rivalry, that the renewal movement of Britain is starting to erupt. But I don't think the establishment in Britain, for example, is going to go down without a fight. And that is going to be a very 5D chess type thing. That's just speaking for Great Britain. And it's going to be a big thing in France. France is another hard hit country by migration. And of course, Germany, and we'll probably see it in Sweden. We'll probably see these types of things in the Netherlands. Anywhere where you have massive migration, you're going to have these kinds of big struggles. But on the other hand, when you look at countries like Poland, Finland, Italy, the Czech Republic, they're going to be much quicker in their revitalization of Western civilization, of European civilization. And speaking of Germany, you're going to see a massive East-West divide, which is really interesting because you look at the old communist East. Well, the old communist East, there's going to be a couple state elections in Eastern Germany, and the AfD is skyrocketing in the polls. I mean, they are going to win in the Eastern German states. So it'll be at the tipping point at the end of this decade. And I'm going to probably, in my personal opinion, we're going to see a lot of conflicts coming in this decade and in the next.
Wow.
So this will be something that will not end with elections. It's going to be a bigger struggle.
Yeah. What about Hungary? We had elections coming up. It's, the polls, if you believe them, show Orban, losing in the polls. Trump's behind him. They really want to destroy the Orban government, the Brussels does. So what do you think is going to go down there?
Well, we've seen this before. The question is always, do you trust the polls and who's polling?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think one of the reasons why Hungary is under such massive attack is because Hungary does not play along with the NATO rules. Hungary has a completely different Russia policy. And so the biggest elephant in the room is who's going to remove Orban. Hungary is very anti payments towards Ukraine, rebuilding Ukraine. I mean, Orban has spoken out about this. Orban has, as I just mentioned, a different Russia policy, has a different energy policy. So he's one of the people who does not play along with the rules. And I think Brussels is going to do everything in their power to try to remove him. How it's going to play out, I don't know. But he has said, I think this was in a Tucker interview a while ago, he said he's always prepared for this. I personally think that if push comes to shove, Orban's going to pull it off again.
That would be a good thing to see. What about Germany? Let's end with that. What's happening in your own country? I mean, Merz is talking about, they're all talking about removing social media access for under 16 because they want to build a new generation that doesn't have these populist viewpoints. That's obvious. They're trying to rearm. There's talk about bringing back nuclear power. I mean, big change going on in Germany. What do you think's the future look like?
Well, the biggest issues for Germany are the demographic shift. You have a massive baby boomer generation that's going into retirement, and that's going to completely dismantle the workforce. The whole pension topic is going to be big. The other problem with Germany is its massive social state. Social, I mean the welfare state. you cannot have, in a ratio of 1 to 3, one young person covering the welfare of 3 people, including the retirees. So that is going to be a massive thing. And the other thing too is, if Germany is actually going to live up to its expectations on defense, you cannot uphold the welfare state. It's just not possible. So the problem is right now that the political rift is getting so big. You have the establishment parties, they're dropping in numbers, and it's the fringes that are gaining very big support. The biggest question in the room is, for me, how long will this merged government last? Especially if you look at the elections in Eastern Germany, if the AfD wins, and if Merz's party, the CDU, will cooperate on the state level, it's going to implode his government. That's my personal view. So his government might implode this year. And the other question will be, with regard to, the buildup of the military. For example, the AfD, they're not very much in favor of this. It's not that they're against the military, but they're against a buildup for war with Russia.
Yeah,
and that's the big elephant in the room.
Yeah,
most people actually, I don't know anybody that wants war with Russia. Sure, there's a couple people, but if you talk to the average German, nobody's interested in a war with Russia. Nobody's interested in a war with Russia.
Yeah. They are.
But people are interested in, national, we've talked about this before. National defense is a good thing. Everything, and going back to Rubio too, this whole civilizational thing, these are all good things. Rebuilding your national sovereignty, rebuilding your military, rebuilding your national pride. But it cannot be done by people that have intentions that are completely contrary to what your nation is all about. So that's the biggest issue. And so Germany has to fix its economy. It has to fix migration. It has to fix its energy. It has to fix its military. It has a lot of fixing up to do, because this decade has hit Germany very hard, starting right with 2021 with the whole Nord Stream, the cheap gas. All of that is over, and Germany has to reorient itself. And I think if Germany understands its civilizational role, historically speaking, being the guardian of Christendom as the Holy Roman Empire, I think Germany can be a very strong player, but it has to rediscover who it is, because it needs to know who it was. And most people here are just not educated about that anymore.
Wow, that's such an amazing statement. The only way out is through this whole mess. I mean, we have to, I believe, just continue pushing the truths of life, Christianity, Western civilization, family, rationality in foreign affairs and culture. And we just have to keep screaming that loudly. And I think that's why media is so critical, because Europe is, you've got a whole generation that, I know some people in Germany who immigrated from other countries, and they're coming there for the free stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's not going to be there. I mean, what you're like, it's like chasing the last trade on Wall Street, it's not going to be the future. So I find that disturbing. But anyway, I wish good on your country. I hope it follows. We've got our struggles here, but I really worry about Europe. So anyway, anything else you want to say, Fabien?
Well, I just want to say that I'm fascinated by the fact that when we started our podcast Euro Bytes, we always said this is a civilizational project. We think in terms of the West. We don't think in terms of we're all doing our own thing. Of course, every nation has to be sovereign, but on the grand scheme of things, we're still one civilization, and either we hang separately or we hang together. And I think we should hang on this together.
I'm going to retitle slightly the Euro Bytes podcast, the Euro Bytes Civilizational Project. I think that's going to be the new tagline for the podcast, because it's
I love it. I love it already.
All right, my friend. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Fabien.
Thank you, Todd.